Hello viewers. First of all, thank you all so much for the support on the last video. It might not be the biggest Pokemon video on the platform, but I'm blown away that so many people not only watched it, but decided to subscribe as well. I never thought I would get 10, let alone 100 subs, so I want to give each and every single one of you a big thank you. Secondly, sorry this video has taken so long. Currently, I only make these videos as a hobby, so I'm making them as and when I feel like doing them, and hopefully that gives a good quality to them as well. Thirdly, I do want to set a subscriber goal. I'm ambitious, so it'll be a ways off, but I want to get to 1,000 subs. Why should you care though? Well, if I get there, I'm gonna start live streaming these runs on Twitch. If you are already subbed, please consider joining my Discord, where you can chat with like-minded people and me. I will also try to give updates on progress for my next videos on there, and if we do ever manage to get to 1,000 subs, I will let you know when I'm going live on that Discord too. If that interests you, click the link in the description. If it doesn't, don't, I guess. Anyway, let's get into the run. This is a Pokemon Sapphire Hardcore Nuzlocke using only the in-game trades. So what Pokemon does that let me work with? Well, that would be just these three. That's probably not going to be possible, so let's include the Pokemon that you have to trade away as well. Okay, and let's be able to evolve them. Now this is looking far more doable. We have a pretty good spread of types and a lot of really underused Pokemon for our team. Let's see if these 6 can beat Pokemon Sapphire with the Hardcore Nuzlocke rule set. The full rules can be found in the description, but these are the main ones. With all that said, do you think I can do it? If so, how many attempts do you think it will take? And what will be the hardest fight? Leave all your predictions in the comments below, and without any further stalling, let's start this run. I named my character Trading, as that's what we're doing for this run, but you also get a gold star if you can get the naming theme for my Pokemon. At the very start of this run, we have to use a starter until I can catch 2 Slackoffs at Petalburg Woods. Why 2? Well, 1 to trade and 1 to keep. In addition to that, if I wait until I have both of them, I get to choose the one that has the better nature for the run. That means that I won't consider Nuzlocke started until that point. That's probably for the best, as it would be quite embarrassing to have lost multiple runs to the first trainer you fight. Not that I ever lost to May, of course. Except that time you just saw. And the other time where she critted me. Yeah, okay, May is kinda hard. Let's hope she doesn't beat me later when it matters. As we go on and catch our Slackoffs, let me know what you think about the team overlay. It's something new I'm trying out for this video. If you like how it looks, I should be able to fit it in for the DS games too. Plus it allows me to put in subtle hints to you guys in the form of HM sleeves. You'll probably see that a bit later on though. The program for it though can also be a little buggy, so the levels and XP it displays may not always be 100% accurate. With 2 Slackoffs caught, I pick between the 2 which I want to use. One of them happens to have an adamant nature, so it's really no choice at all. I call Slackoff Bit, and then I go and grind up my Slackoff. I tried to focus on taking out Zigzagoons and Poochyena to try and get more attack EVs. This run I'm not going to fully EV train all my Pokemon, but if I need a few levels, I may as well grind out some EVs too. Mostly though, after this first grind, I'll just be using rare candies to get Pokemon up to the level of the next gym. Mostly just to save my time and sanity. On this first grind though, there is a small chance of losing Bit, so I will commit to this very first one. After all that's done, I go through the woods and meet the very first Team Aqua Grunt, and deal with them quite easily. Still, they already feel like a step up from Soul Silver's Rocket Grunts. I mean, Team Aqua is at least on level, despite still having terrible Pokemon. After Petalburg Woods, I can go and trade my bad Slackoff away for a Makuhita. I bring it up to level with rare candies, then get ready for Roxanne. I first decide to take out one of her gym trainers to get to the edge of level 16. I might have forgotten the XP boosts that traded Pokemon get, and just how frustrating it is to use traded Pokemon without gym badges. Half the time Makuhita just doesn't attack, and as I forgot the XP boost, I overlevel Makihita. That means I can only use Bit for Roxanne. This probably won't go well. Well, I'll try anyway. While Slackoff and Yon maybe give me a chance, Scratch just does pitiful damage to Geodude. It does take a few minutes for the battle, but I inevitably lose. So first attempt almost entirely lost to overleveling Makit. Let's try again, and just not do that. This time I don't have an Adamant Slackoff, I just go for the one with the slightly better stats. I again trade for Makit, level up my Pokemon, this time remember to give them berries, and with all that done, we can challenge Roxanne again. I lead with Bit to get the sleep with Yawn, then swap out. Makit takes a Rock Tomb on swap in, and that's a bit of a mistake. I should let Bit tank the potential hit so that Makit isn't slower than the Geodude. Geodude only takes one Arm Thrust from Makit, partly due to waking up quickly, and partly due to Makit just ignoring orders. So I swap back to Bit and get off another Yawn. This time I remember to stay in to take a hit, then swap to Makit. I hit a few Vital Throws, getting Geodude quite low and causing Roxanne to use a potion. Then I make another mistake by staying in with Makit and just going for more hits. I could have easily swapped out again, but I didn't. I do manage to get the final potion used, but Makit is left on only 2 HP before I swap back out to Bit. Eventually I get the sleep on Geodude, then swap back out again, but Geodude wakes up, hits a tackle, and with that, this attempt is pretty much over. I need Makit to deal with this gym, Bit just cannot hurt rock types right now. So attempt 3, I get back to the same point. This time I'm much luckier between Makit actually attacking and Roxanne's Pokemon sleeping for longer. This lets me pretty easily deal with Geodude, but for Nosepass I get a bit unlucky again. Makit ignores orders and sleeps. I didn't even know it could do that. However, Nosepass was left really low by the time we went to sleep, so I'm just about able to win out the fight with Bit, despite Scratch only doing 1 damage. Huh, I was not expecting the first gym leader to cause this many resets, but maybe I was doing something wrong. After Roxanne, it's a pretty easy Aqua fight, then navigating through a dark cave. Thankfully I've played the crap out of Sapphire, so I know this cave well. But why have I played this game so much? Well, when I was younger, I thought the legendaries were super cool, so I would play through Sapphire in a day, basically solo running with Blaziken, just to get a Kyogre and Rayquaza to then transfer to my Diamond save. I ended up with so many Kyogres that I had one entirely dedicated as a HM slave. Was I the only one that did this? Did anyone else play through entire Game Boy games loads just to transfer legendaries to a DS game? Anyway, after this cave, it's time for Brawly. The new level cap is 18, and it just so happens that's when Slackoff evolves into Vigoroth. That lets us get rid of its god-awful ability, and makes Vigoroth actually a pretty decent Pokemon, though if it's good enough to beat Brawly remains to be seen. First attempt, Brawly sets up some bulk ups. I get Machop asleep, then get it all the way down to the tiniest sliver with Cut. Brawly then super potions, wakes up, then KOs my entire team with his boosts. Alright, time to reset again. This time I've learnt something for Roxanne. If I go for Arm Thrust with Makit, I'll outspeed Geodude as Vital Throw always makes you go second, even if you don't end up attacking due to being a traded Pokemon. This makes Roxanne much easier, and we won't need to see her fights again for the rest of the run. This time I really want to get everything I can before I take on Brawly, so I go all the way to Slateport to try and find anything extra I can get. Turns out there isn't anything extra I can get. But I do get to give an interview about how Game Freak feels about the Gen 4 remakes. Okay, they're not that bad, but come on, they should have at the very least used Platinum as a base. After a bit more exploring, I know I can't go further north without a May fight, and that one's really tough, and 2, even if I somehow won it, it'll almost certainly overlevel my team. So it's back to Juford. And time for a strange reference. Brawly, I've come to bargain. That should give you an idea of how these coming fights will go. Next attempt, Machop starts with Seismic Toss. That's actually perfect for me. I can lock him into that with Encore and heal it with Slack Off. Unfortunately, after putting him to sleep with Yawn, he wakes up after only one turn of sleep, and then on the next turn his Encore ends as well. As I go for Yawn again to put him back to sleep, he gets a Bulk Up in, and that gives him enough defense to survive 2 scratches in red HP. He wakes up after only 2 turns of sleep, then KOs Bit. I send in Mackit, and he heals up. So that's GG. Okay Brawly, I've come to bargain. At least this time, I get closer and take out his Machop. But his Makihita is next and gets in enough damage on Bit that we have to rely on Mackit, who of course ignores orders. So that's another attempt lost. Well Brawly, I've come to bargain. This time I finally learnt that you can Encore when an Encore ends to keep the Pokemon locked into the same move. For whatever reason, I always used to think that that would make it fail. By locking Machop into only Leers, I'm able to quite easily take it out. Then I end up getting quite unlucky. I'm not able to lock his Makihita into Sand attacks, as I miss with 1 accuracy drop, then get hit with 4 Arm Thrusts. On the other hand though, I get insanely lucky, by surviving that 4-hit Arm Thrust, and then the next 2 Arm Thrusts only are 2 hits. Thanks to that good luck, Bit is now healthy enough that Brawly decides to bulk up again. I lock him into it with Encore, then try to scratch to victory. But I just can't do enough damage with Bulk Up also buffing defense. And despite hitting around 20 scratches, I don't get a crit, which is actually super unlucky. Encore finally ends as Brawly runs out of Bulk Up PP, so he then goes on to sweep my team. Okay then, attempt I've lost count. Brawly, I've come to bargain. That time it wasn't even close. Next attempt, I lose again to him running out of PP. Then, I can't even beat his Machop. Then I die to Makihita sweeping, then die to Machop sweeping. Finally, a breakthrough. All these attempts lost, but I should have gotten a crit in one of them by now, which would have made the fight completely doable. I know crits are unlikely, but after getting 20 scratches in almost all of these attempts, I would have expected to have seen at least 1 by now. That's where the breakthrough comes in. This attempt, I'm just so sick of not getting the crit that I learn Fury Swipes after I take out Machop. I use it, and despite the 80 accuracy, it never misses. First attack, I get a crit, on the next attack I get 3 hits, and that takes out Makihita. Huh, that was easy. Beating Brawly, he gives us the Bulk Up TM. That's gonna be instrumental to this run. I teach it to Bit, and you can see in the next Aqua battle how much easier it makes the game. Although I do miss a few Fury Swipes here and there, which is really annoying. Still, with Brawly down, I think the hardest part of the game might be behind us. A setup sweeper that can heal itself is an insane thing to have in any Nuzlocke. Next up, it's the May fight. And despite being worried earlier, it ends up being quite manageable. I lead with Bit and KO Shroomish with 2 Fury Swipes. Shroomish did miss a Stun Spore, but I also had a Cherry Berry on Bit just for that. After Shroomish faints, I can set up some Bulk Ups on normal. I am risking a burn from Ember, so I only go for 4 Bulk Ups, although even that was probably too many. With the setup, Bit is then able to quite easily take out May's last 2 Pokemon. After May, we can get to Morvile, which means it's time for Watson. First, I've got to fight Wally, but his routes doesn't even hurt us. Then, it's time for Watson. For those of you that don't get his pun, what is the unit of power? Anyway, I'll let you figure that out as we take out the gym trainers, and accidentally overlevel Bit. Again. Well, I probably just lost another attempt. Mackit tries his best, but is only able to get past Magnemite before going down. Here we go again then. Brawly, I've come to bargain. First though, for full disclosure at this point, I'm no longer grinding up Bit on wild Pokemon and just using rare candies at the start. as the many times I've grinded it up now, Bit never ever came close to dying, so I'm just skipping some of the tedium, and I really don't want to grind up another 10 times if Broly is as hard as he was last time. Speaking of Broly, this time I completely outplay him. How did I change up my tactic, you asked? Well, I got a crit. Yeah, okay, maybe not the most tactical victory, but it does mean that I get to have Scratch instead of Fury Swipes, and Scratch actually hits every time. After Broly, I again teach Bulk Up to Bit, then have a really close Mei fight this time. Scratch is a bit weaker, so I need 3 hits to take out Shroomish, which means I get paralyzed. I do get pretty fortunate though with not being paralyzed for most of the fight, and with the status, I can't get burned by Numel, so I can take as long as I need to fully set up with Bit. Which actually makes the last 2 Pokemon pretty easy. It's nearly time for Watson again, but before I do the fight, I need a few more Cherry Berries. And it turns out, you can't skip time forward in all Gen 3 games, even with the magic of an emulator. Waiting half a day just to get some berries also doesn't sound too fun, so yet again, I resort to a little bit of cheating. I will however only be using berries that I could have gotten for where I am in the game, so no abusing the stat boosting berries for me. After getting all the berries and taking out Watson's gym trainers, I still need to grind up a bit more to get to the edge of level 24. And as I need to grind, I figure I may as well do it on Pokemon that give attack EVs. So I go all the way back to the very first route of the game to kill all the Zigzagoons, except one that I catch and give an extremely subtle name to. Let me know if the subliminal messaging works. After that, it's time for Watson. I lead with Makuhita to deal with the Magnemite. Both my Pokemon have Cherry Berries to dodge Paralysis, which Watson loves spamming. However, it doesn't help with the confusion that Watson leads with. First turn, I hit myself. Second turn, the berry comes in clutch, curing a paralysis as Makit hits Magnemite, leaving it on just a sliver left. Next turn, Watson full heals with a super potion, but Makit manages to break through confusion, get a higher damage roll, and one-shots the Magnemite. Then Voltorb comes out, which means it's Bit's turn to play. I swap out, then immediately lose the Cherry Berry to a Spark. That's really annoying, but aside from that, Voltorb is not much of an issue. I put it to sleep with Yawn, get up 2 Bulk Ups, then take it out with a single Scratch. Finally, it's Magneton. You might have wondered why I didn't fully set up Bit. Well, in the Pokemon Damage Calculator, which is a fantastic tool for Nuzlocking, if you haven't seen it before, check my description for a link. Even with a huge +6 attack, Scratch is only a 3-hit KO. I could learn Rock Smash, but that's still only a 2-hit KO as the move is just so weak this gen. Why did they have to make half the HMs unusable in battle? Especially when you consider Waterfall and Surf are HMs. But I digress. You know what else is a 2-hit KO though, with no boosts? Vital Throw from Makit. So I go for a semi-risky strat. Turn 1, Bit yawns. In return we get paralyzed by a Thunder Wave. Turn 2, Magneton hits a Sonic Boom, as I heal it with a Slack Off. That's definitely one of the riskier turns of this strat. I'm pretty sure that a Shockwave does a lot of damage here. Turn 3, I swap out to Makit. Magneton thankfully stays asleep. Turn 4, I land the Vital Throw. I just need one more turn of sleep now, and I should have this. Or a crit just outright wins it here. Well, now you might be thinking, that didn't actually look risky at all. Well, Shockwave one-shots Makit at full health all of the time. So yeah, there was a pretty huge risk, but I think this was the best way I had to play out this fight. Like I said, I could maybe have gone for Rock Smash on Bit, but we're still quite a ways off from the move deleter, so we'd be stuck with it for quite a long time. Plus, setting up on Voltorb or Magnemite is super hard. Voltorb has a pretty decent paralysis chance with spamming Sparks, and a chance to just randomly self-destruct, while Magnemite loves spamming Confusion and Paralysis. Maybe there was a way though, and if you knew these games better than me, you might have been able to find it. You might have also realised that I could have picked up Oddish here. I might have even been able to get it before Broly if I'd realised, although May may be scared of even going on this route. That might have made a pretty huge difference, as you'll see going forward, Gloom and Blossom are great at setting up other Pokemon to sweep. I will go and catch one now, and I'll name her Doge. I do think though, if you don't see that you can catch Oddish here, I played this part of the game about as well as you possibly can, and it still took many retries. That first little section with these rules certainly isn't the hardest part of any Nuzlocke challenge, but it is probably the hardest that I've ever played. You might think I'm being hyperbolic, but I guarantee you that if you go out there and try this challenge right now, you aren't beating this on the first try. If you want to try and prove me wrong though, be my guest. Come on my Discord, link in the description, and tell me how I misplayed the first half of Houghton. Maybe twice in a video is too often to plug the same thing. Oh, I almost forgot, I have to tell you to subscribe as well. I mean, it's free, and you'll probably see another Pokemon run from me if you do, in hopefully less than a month's time. Speaking of which, does anyone have any suggestions on what to run next? Personally, I really fancy doing a Gen 5 run, so next video might be Gen 5, but with only one Pokemon from each type allowed. Let me know if you'd want to see that, and also tell me any types in any games you really want to see me try and monologue with. I'll try and make it happen. So you may have noticed me separating these 3 badges as half the game. Well, being honest, it is. From this point onwards, I'm not going to say the game is completely free and easy, but a lot of difficulty came from only having a Vigoroth, and a slower and generally worse Makuhita that tries to do the same thing as Vigoroth. After beating Watson, the level cap goes up, and I'm able to get a Hariyama. While still probably a worse sweeper than Bit, it now has enough HP to actually tank a hit or two, which gives me a pretty good semi-tank Pokemon. Combine that with the addition of Doge the Gloom, who gives me some really good setup with Sleep Powder and Flash, we're really starting to put a competent team together. So the next step on our journey is the first Archie fight. I lead with Bit, who I've now taught Strength to. It's not the best move possible, but it is twice as good as Scratch. I start by setting up some bulk ups, but Mightyena roars me. I swap out to Doge, then I simply get Sleep on Mightyena, swap back to Bit, get 2 bulk ups, and then proceed to sweep his team. That might set the tone for most of the coming boss fights. Next up, Flannery. This one is quite a bit scarier. She loves to use Overheat, which Bit can only just tank, going down to 4 HP all the way from full health. After the first one though, Slugma's special attack is halved, so we're much safer to set up on it. Of course, it could still always crit here, but I think that would one-shot any member of the team, so I don't really see a way to play around that. As it is, I heal Bit back up with Slackoffs, sleep Slugma with Yawn, then set up max bulk ups. That then lets me one-shot all of Flannery's team. Definitely a scarier fight, you can't always play around crits in these runs. Up next it's Norman, the world's worst dad. Why does he never visit home if the gym is so close? At least in the other Pokemon games, there's room to wonder where/who Dad is. In this one, he just isn't bothered at all. Well, because he's a terrible dad, we need to beat him in the cheapest way possible. I lead with Mackit. Turn 1, I fake out and flinch his Slacking's first turn. Next turn, I know it's going to loaf around, so I can go for a Sand attack. Next turn, I tank a Facade with just over half HP, then land 2 more Sand attacks. As his accuracy is now so low, Slacking goes for Yawns, as it can't miss. So I get 1 more Sand attack in, then swap out to Doge. He goes for another Yawn, as I miss Stun Spore. So again, I swap back to Mackit, then to Doge. This time, the Stun Spore lands, so it's back to Mackit again, getting the last 2 Sand attacks. Finally, I can start setting up with Bit. So I set up max bulk ups with Bit, as Slacking mostly misses and is paralysed. Once I've got an all bulk up set up, I sweep Norman's team with Strength. Yet another easy fight done. However, the next one could be a bit of a challenge. I remember playing this game as a kid. Winona's Altaria often took me a few attempts or revive spam to beat it. Having Dragon Dance is really scary, so at a minimum to deal with it, I need a Pokemon that can two-shot it and either outspeed it or tank 2 Dragon Dance boosted attacks. Well, luckily enough, getting to Fortree City, and most importantly, getting Surf, lets us get 2 new Pokemon for the team. At least that is the case as soon as we beat the Aqua admin, who is quite easy, and the last required May fight. This one could be a bit tough, but if we get fully set up with Bit, it won't be too much of an issue. This May fight is the first battle where I properly get to lead with Gloom. I paralyze, then fully accuracy lower Shroomish. This makes it really safe to come in, fully set up with Bit and Sweet May's entire team, even while having a Leech Seed on Bit. With May beaten, I can go all the way to Lilycove City, and that means I can go to the Safari Zone and catch 2 Pikachus. I call them both Polkadot. One of course is for me, one for a trade, which happens at Fortree City. That lets me get a Skitty called Skitit. Wow, Smackit and Skitit? The names of the in-game trade Pokemon have are really creative. I wonder how they came up with them. With these 2 Pokemon on the team, we now need to do a bit of exploring. So I go to New Morvile, where I can pick up a Thunderstone for Polkadot, and completing the side quest lets me get a Thunderbolt TM for Skitit. I then do the extremely brave play of actually letting my Pikachu evolve with a Thunderstone. Maybe if a certain anime character did that, they'd win more Pokemon Leagues. Or at the very least not get all their badges through pity. With Polkadot evolved, I need to show Skitit some love too, so I go and get the TM for Ice Beam and a Moonstone from Meteor Falls. With Ice Beam and Thunderbolt, our newly evolved Delcatty will have Ice and Electric coverage, which gives her at least neutral type coverage against 99% of all possible type combinations. That will be important a bit later, as beating another gym will let Delcatty of all Pokemon be our second sweeper. After all the new additions to the team, I go beat all the trainers in Winona's gym, then get the Pokemon I think will be relevant for Winona to the edge of a level up. Those Pokemon are Polkadot and Skitit. Polkadot being able to one-shot all of Winona's Pokemon except Altaria, where it has to swap out in the fear of Altaria's Earthquake. That's where Skitit comes in, as its Ice Beam is always a 2-shot KO on Altaria, and with a little bit of EV investment it can outspeed Altaria's base speed. Finally, in worst case scenario, it can just about tank 2 Dragon Dance boosted Earthquakes most of the time. That should solve all of the issues we could have for Winona, so long as Skitit doesn't get critted. So let's go into the fight. I lead with Polkadot, and as expected, Thunderbolt is able to one-shot the Swallow. Winona goes to the feared Altaria, so I have to swap to Skitit. I get a little bit scared as Winona doesn't go for an Earthquake that I expected, but instead immediately gets a Dragon Dance up. It's really scary as Delcatty could definitely have survived a crit non-boosted Earthquake, but now with the boost it's anyone's game. We're now also slower than Altaria. I go for the Ice Beam anyway, and Winona hits an Earthquake. Skitit does tank it, but with only 47 HP. And she just took 46 damage. A higher damage roll might just KO her next turn. However, Ice Beam does do its job and leaves Altaria on less than half HP. So now I've got a choice to make. Hitting this next Ice Beam is probably the best chance I have to deal with Altaria. But conversely, another Earthquake might just be the end of Delcatty, and I do want it for later fights. If I start swapping around too much, my Pokemon are going to take lots of damage, and if I get Altaria into potion range, this run is just over. So I just have to go for the Ice Beam and pray. Winona then answers my prayers, with another Dragon Dance, because a small chance of winning is not worth playing for, but 0% chance, that's what Winona aspires for. After that pivotal moment, I swap back out to Polkadot, and some Thunderbolts later we take the W. Now it's time for the last little bit of cheating of the run. What is it this time? Well, at this point, I should be able to evolve Gloom into Blossom. I need two. One for trading, one for me. I did say at this point, but I should clarify that I mean at this point in Pokemon Ruby. Yeah, Solrock is a version exclusive that's found in Meteor Falls. It has a chance to hold a Sunstone. I probably should have checked that before I started this run, but I like blue more than red, so I'd probably have chosen Sapphire anyway. That means I will be cheating in 2 Sunstones for my Glooms to evolve. There is one guaranteed Sunstone a bit later in the game, so maybe I should have waited on this, but in the Ruby version I would have Blossom at this point. So that's why I got it here. Polkadot now really gets her time to shine, as we have to deal with all of the Aqua plot. They pretty much only have Zubats, Carvanas, and Poochyena, plus their evolutions. And Thunderbolt from Polkadot pretty much one-shots all of them, as you can see in this Aqua admin fight in their hideout. And while you won't see it, the same is pretty much true for all the Aqua Grunts. Just before the second to last gym, I'm able to make my way to Pacific Log Town and trade for my last team member, Corsola named Coruscant. Now it's time for maybe the only double battle gym in Pokemon? Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I can't think of any others right now. Unfortunately, in Sapphire and Ruby, this is a really easy fight, as each leader only has one Pokemon. This is definitely a fight made harder in Emerald and the remakes. This might also be the only chance for Coruscant to have a fight, so I lead with her and Doge. Doge might be a bit weak to Psychic, but I've given her Giga Drain, which will 2-shot either Solrock or Lunatone. First turn, I go for Surf with Coruscant and Giga Drain on Solrock. First move of the fight, Lunatone uses Hypnosis on Coruscant. I didn't check the movesets, so I just defaulted to giving everyone Citrus Berries. That does unfortunately mean the only fight where Coruscant might have shined, she's gonna snooze instead. Solrock also goes for Sunny Day, which now means it can use Solar Beams. Blossom goes last, and does half HP damage to Solrock. Now it's next turn. With the sun now up, Blossom is actually faster thanks to Chlorophyll. But I still don't want to risk a Solar Beam ever having a chance to hit Coruscant. So I swap her out to Bit and KO Solrock with Giga Drain, as Lunatone gets up a Calm Mind. This does make me a little scared, as Doge is weak to Psychic attacks, so I go for the Yawn and Sleep Powder to guarantee Lunatone will sleep, while I get to 2v1 it. 2 turns of sleep later, and Lunatone is Luna gone. We win the 7th gym badge, and maybe most importantly, I get Calm Mind, which I immediately teach to Skittit. Archie has almost realised his plan of making Hoenn wetter. What's his plan here? Making IGN give an even lower score? I guess we have to stop him or something. I lead with Skittit and set up a Calm Mind. Takedown does a scary amount of damage, so I start attacking with Thunderbolt. It puts Mightyena down to a 3rd HP, but I think Archie's learning how I play. He goes for a Roar as he doesn't want to deal with my setup Pokemon. That forces me into Doge, but that's not really a bad thing. I go for the Sleep Powder, then swap to Bit, my other setup sweeper. 2 bulk ups later, Mightyena wakes up, but decides not to Roar. Never mind, the AI is just dumb. With the stat boost from bulk up, I decide to just start attacking. Therefore Mightyena goes down next turn. Crobat comes out next, and annoyingly instantly hits a Confuse Ray, making Bit hit itself. I'm scared of confusion, so I just start panic using Slack Off. First attempt, a bite, then a confusion hit, leaves Bit scarily low. Oh no, I can't afford to lose Bit here. I go for Slack Off again, and on only 30 HP, we ignore confusion and get the recovery. That was close. Any crits would have been terrifying. I get one more recovery turn, putting Bit back up to full health, then go for Strength as I break through confusion. It doesn't quite one-shot Crobat, but it puts it low enough HP that Archie goes for a potion. And bad news for Crobat, Archie is a cheapskate, so he only uses a super potion. It doesn't give back enough HP, so Strength is able to take out Crobat. Final Pokemon, it's Sharpedo. Judging by the level, it's supposed to be Archie's ace. Judging by how it takes a hit, it shouldn't be. We beat Archie, but he just can't help himself. He needs to make everything wet. So, he sets loose the super ancient Pokemon of the sea, Kyogre. Thanks to being pre-Gen 6, Drizzle doesn't have a 5-turn limit. Maxie points out that might drown the entire region, a reasonable concern. Steven, however, is more concerned that Permanent Rain ruins his mostly rock team. He thinks this is unfair, so he needs us to stop it. So how will we deal with Kyogre? Polkadot might be able to take it down without much of an issue, so I lead with her. By take it down, of course I mean run away, which somehow makes the rain and Kyogre go away. We saved the entire region by running away. Huh. Overall, I think Archie's plan is a 7 out of 10. There's just a bit too much water going on with it, you know? Now we've proven we know how to deal with water Pokemon, it's time for the water gym. As soon as I can figure out some puzzles meant for 5-year-olds. Yeah, that last ice puzzle took an embarrassing number of attempts. After that though, it's time for Wallace. My plan is just to full setup Skittit and to sweep. So I lead with Doge and go for as many flashes as I can get on Luvdisc. It does get a confusion, so I swap to Bit to get a yawn in, then go back to Doge to get all the accuracy low as I can. With Luvdisc almost entirely blind and asleep, I swap to Skittit. Time to set up as many Carmines as possible. Skittit also has Rest and a Chesto Berry to full heal at any point if needed. Despite confusion from Luvdisc, I fully set up with Calm Minds, then to get rid of confusion I go for one more. Luvdisc of course crits a Water Pulse on that turn, doing a third of Skittit's health. Next turn I land a Thunderbolt and take it out. Then comes out Whiscash, and I can't one-shot it with Skittit. I'm semi-low health and Whiscash can use physical ground attacks, so I go for a Rest. As Whiscash sets up an Amnesia. Now I definitely can't one-shot it, but I can still do some decent damage, so I go for an Ice Beam. It does just about... oh, a crit. Let's go. With Whiscash out of the way, nothing left can really stop Skittit's Thunderbolts. Milotic does give it a good attempt, just about surviving a hit, then being healed up twice, but it isn't enough to stop Arcado's sweep. Well, what's left then? A Wally fight, then the Elite Four. Do you think we can keep the record clean this run? We've had 0 casualties. Will we keep that up as we take down the league? First things first though, it's time for the Wally fight before we can challenge the league. My strategy coming into this and all the league fights is to lead with Doge, get off asleep, then max flashes. Then either swap out to Bit or Skittit and have them set up and sweep. That is the plan. However, Wally just has to throw a wrench in things. His first Pokemon is an Altaria. It dodges Sleep with Safeguard, then does way more than half HP to Doge. I only have one Flash up, but flashes might not even matter as Altaria is using Aerial Ace. So I'll have to rely on Skittit's Ice Beam like I did for Winona. I swap out to Skittit, and Altaria does get a Dragon Dance up. But after I land the first Ice Beam, Altaria has no chance. With Altaria out of the way, Wally sends in his own Delcatty, so I go to Bit to just stall out time until Safeguard ends. When it does, it's back into Doge to get a sleep off, then set up flashes. Finally, it's back out to Bit to fully set up with Bulk Ups and then sweep Wally's team. I'm not going to be doing the full play-by-play of this fight or most of the league fights, as they all end up being really similar. Just lead with Doge, then swap to one of my setup sweepers and then well just sweep. In fact, the first 3 Elite Four members, Sydney, Phoebe and Glacia, are all pretty much the same. The only real hiccup for all 3 of these trainers is Phoebe's last Dusclops. A fully set up Skittit can't deal that well with its special bulk, and it requires me to swap out my setup Pokemon to go into Doge to get a sleep off. Then by juggling Sleep and the other members of my team, I slowly but safely managed to take out her Dusclops. After Phoebe's Ghost put up a little bit of resistance, Glacia's Ice Team is easily taken out by a setup Bit. Last of the Elite Four though, it's Drake. He uses Dragon-type Pokemon, which means he has some terrifying Pokemon. Most notably would be Salamence, but that isn't mentioning his Flygon or his Altaria. Still, he only leads with a Shelgon, so it's pretty easy to get Skidit fully set up and ready to sweep. A quick time skip later, and Skidit has maxed out Calm Minds, but has been hit by a Rock Tomb, so it's at -1 speed. The first time this happened, I decided to swap out to Doge to get a sleep, and then try setting up again, but I still ended up with a minus speed on the second try. I could try one more time, but with Gen 3 not having the special physical split yet, Max Special Defense actually walls most of the attacks that might hit Skittit. So I decide to try and go for the sweep. Ice Beam takes out most of Drake's Pokemon without much issue. I get all the way to Drake's Salamence with mostly full HP. However, things start to go awry as Salamence uses Fly. This causes Skittit's Ice Beam to miss, then on the following turn Fly lands and it takes out Skittit. I did not give enough respect to Salamence. I know it's really strong, but I thought Skittit would tank Fly here. Well, I don't need to panic just yet. Just go out to Doge and get a sleep off. I swap out and he uses Fly again. Okay then, if Skittit couldn't take the hit, I cannot risk Doge. So I only have two real options left. Swap to Coruscant or Polkadot. While Coruscant is definitely tankier, Polkadot might get a static proc, which would save us from a heartbreaking loss. So, out I go to Polkadot. She takes 1/3 damage from Fly, but we get the static proc. That's huge. We now actually have a chance to deal with Salamence. I pivot out to Mackit as I don't expect to fly here. With Mackit, we can get in a fake out for free damage, then I try for a Rock Tomb. I want to get Salamence slower in case Drake uses a Full Restore. I get unlucky though and miss the Rock Tomb as Salamence goes for Fly again. Okay, this time I'll go to Coruscant to tank. Isn't Fly not very effective? Well it is, but a crit from Salamence is always pretty effective. I was considering going for a Miracle after tanking the Fly, but with this low HP I want to recover up, which I do. But a Dragon Claw from Salamence puts Coruscant back into super low HP. Oh, this isn't gonna work. I could maybe stay in until he misses a turn with Paralysis to then get the Miracle off, but that doesn't sound that consistent to me, so it's time to pivot again. This time to Doge, who can take special hits quite a bit better than Coruscant. Dragon Claw only does 1/3 damage. Okay then, this should be in the bag now. With some flashes, Salamence will go from terrifying to cute and cuddly. I land one, and Salamence almost hits a flamethrower. Oh, so we can't afford to stay in with Doge then. Well, back to Mackit to get in a fake out and then a Rock Tomb. Salamence goes for Fly, and I'm running out of good switches. I do think that Mackit is a pretty thick HP pool. Surely it can take one hit, right? Salamence hits Fly, and Mackit just survives on 3 HP. That's insane damage. I do get a bit of a consolation prize though, as I hit a Rock Tomb, so Salamence will be slow even with a Full Restore. All in all, I don't see Mackit as necessary for Steven, so I go for another Rock Tomb here to guarantee that Salamence will be slower if a Full Restore comes out. And if we're lucky here, maybe we just KO it. Rock Tomb lands, and Salamence just barely hangs on. But it doesn't get an attack in. Mackit lives for now. I go for one more Rock Tomb, expecting the Full Restore, getting a little bit of damage to start the second health bar. Like I said earlier though, I'm running out of HP on the team. I think my best option here is to go into Doge, as Salamence is likely just going to go for any move to finish off Mackit. And he does, but Disaster strikes. I think the move they use here is truly random as they will all KO, so Salamence goes for the Flamethrower, and that takes out Doge. That is actually a really big loss. Doge is how I've been able to set up so easily for all the league fights. Without her, I don't know if Steven is even doable. Although honestly, it's looking less and less likely that we'll even get to him. Still, this does give me a free switch, and hopefully the one flash I got off comes in clutch. Who can I go out to though? I cannot risk Bit. If I lose my other sweeper right here, I may as well just reset now. With the Pokemon I have left, I only think Polkadot will do decent damage with Thunderbolt, so it's time for a Hail Mary. I swap to Polkadot and just spam Thunderbolt. I have to hope we can take a hit from Salamence or hope that Flash comes in clutch. Thunderbolt does a little more than half of Salamance's remaining HP, but now it's the moment of truth. Salamence doesn't miss. I watch in despair as Polkadot's HP drops. Come on Raichu, you're almost Pikachu. We need some anime magic right now. The HP stops falling. 4 is all we have, but it's 3 more than we need. Next turn, I go for the final Thunderbolt, and Polkadot just clutches it out against Salamence. That was nearly a complete disaster, but our little electric mouse managed to pull it off. Worryingly though, I don't know how to approach Steven now. All I know is that he leads with a Skarmory that Polkadot can one-shot, so she'll be my lead. I also see who else can learn Flash, as more accuracy hacks might give Bit a window to set up. Turns out it's only Polkadot. Well, let's just give this our best shot. Polkadot goes out. Steven sent out Skarmory. As I predicted, Thunderbolt takes out Skarmory, but that's the only planned part of this fight. Next up for Steven, it's his Aggron. It has a lot of coverage, but mostly does physical damage. I only need to get 1 or 2 bulk ups for Bit to be mostly safe. So Polkadot goes for a Flash. It lands, but it's not enough to save Polkadot from the return Earthquake. I'll miss you, buddy. You were far better than I was expecting. Well now, I swap out to Bit. I'm faster, so I can get up a bulk up that makes Aggron's physical attacks pretty manageable, especially with Slack Off. After only 2 bulk ups, Aggron goes for Thunders. Despite the Flash, few of them miss, so Bit is left mostly healing back up. This continues for a while until we catch a break. A Thunder misses after we have 4 bulk ups set up. Not wanting to risk a paralysis, even though I have a Lumberry, I decide to just start hitting. Aggron goes down. Next up, Claydol goes down. Even Steven's Metagross can't take a hit. Finally, it's just the 2 fossil Pokemon left. While they are able to take a hit from Bit, they can't take 2. And they deal almost no damage in return. A few more turns, and we finish up the game as the new champions. This has been one of my favourite runs to play so far. A lot of the annoying parts happen so early on, they don't take too much time to overcome, and the party I had at the end are really old Pokemon I've never used in a playthrough before, the only exception being Hariyama. Honestly though, that is part of the joy of hardcore Nuzlocking for me. It's these diverse and underutilized Pokemon that you almost never would have used normally. Hence, for my next run, I'll be doing a hardcore Nuzlocke of Black 2, with only 1 Pokemon of each type allowed in the team. Sort of the inverse of a mono-type run. And just to clarify, that does include second types too. So if I say had a Lucario, I then couldn't get a Steelix. Let me know if that's something that sounds interesting to you in the comments. If you have other suggestions too, please tell them. I will try to make them happen eventually. Speaking of comments, also let me know what you think about the party UI. It's something new and trying out, but if you like it, I should be able to fit it on my DS overlay as well. Finally, I'm glad you watched. I really hope that you enjoyed as well. A huge shout out also has to go to my Patreons, who are slowly but surely making the dream of making videos for a living a reality. Finally, with everything all said, I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.